You know, there's a shadow war happening right now. The battlefield isn't some patch of land or sea. It's the global financial system itself. And the prize? Well, it's control of the world's money. Let's declassify the intel. For decades, this wasn't even a real question. The answer was a given, an undisputed fact of economic life. But right now, that established order is under assault. We're opening the case file on a very high-stakes power play.
The target is the US dollar, the world's reserve currency, that bedrock asset that central banks hold onto and that global trade absolutely relies upon. And the challenger? China's president, Xi Jinping, who has a single, incredibly audacious goal: to dethrone the king and crown the Chinese yuan.
So what's the plan here? For years, this was all shielded from public view, just a matter of internal party doctrine. But recently, the blueprint for this entire financial offensive was, well, declassified. And the source is a 2014 speech that Xi Jinping gave to his inner circle. It's only now been published in the Communist Party's own journal, Chuxi, which, you gotta admit, effectively broadcasts the strategy to the entire world, and you can bet that timing is no accident.
And here we have it, the core ambition, stated with absolute clarity. Xi's objective is unmistakable. He wants to forge a currency that's powerful enough to be used globally for trade and investment, and then, ultimately, to achieve that coveted status of a world reserve currency.
And to get there, Xi outlined 4 pillars. Think of it as his checklist for financial supremacy. First, you need a central bank with real global clout. Second, a financial system that everyone sees is unshakable. Third, state-backed banks that can actually go toe-to-toe with Wall Street. And finally, you need stock markets that are deep and liquid enough to pull in massive flows of global capital. This is the foundation he believes is absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, so that's the blueprint. It's a clear, logical path to power. But how does this ambition really stack up against reality? Let's take a look at the state of play right now.
Now, when you look at these numbers, the sheer scale of the challenge is just staggering. The US dollar still commands 58% of all central bank reserves worldwide. The euro, a very distant second at 20%. And the Chinese yuan, it's sitting at a tiny 2%. I mean, on the surface, it's not even in the same league. The ambition seems completely detached from the data.
But here's the thing. That static snapshot doesn't tell the whole story. While the dollar's fortress looks pretty much impenetrable from a distance, if you take a closer look at the foundation, you'll see some significant cracks are starting to form.
And this really shows you the trend line. Back in 1999, the dollar's share of global reserves was a colossal 71%. By today, it has fallen steadily. Now, that's a slow but undeniable erosion of dominance. So why is this happening? Well, mounting US debt is one factor. But, critically, the increasing use of the dollar as a tool of foreign policy is forcing nations to quietly start looking for an exit ramp. And this is where our investigation takes a really unexpected turn. Because while Xi Jinping correctly diagnosed the world's desire for a dollar alternative, the evidence shows that nations aren't actually turning to the yuan. Nope, they're turning to something else entirely, something ancient. So this is the crucial point, right? If central banks are systematically moving away from the dollar, but they're not moving towards the yuan, where's all that capital actually going? Who is the real contender in this fight for the future of money? The answer isn't another state currency. It's gold. Think about it. A national currency is a potential weapon. It can be sanctioned, it can be frozen, it carries all the political risk of its issuer. Gold, on the other hand, is neutral. It belongs to no one. It's sanction-proof, a hard asset that has served as a safe haven for centuries. And in a world of increasing geopolitical tension, that neutrality has become its core strength.
And we are not talking about a marginal shift here. For the last 3 years in a row, the world's central banks have added over 1,000 tons of gold to their reserves, annually. This is a massive, coordinated pivot. It signals a fundamental loss of trust in fiat currencies and a strategic move toward an asset that exists outside any single nation's control.
So, after examining the ambition, the data, and that unexpected twist in the evidence, I think it's time to close the case file. Let's summarize the final ledger on this global currency conflict. So here are the key findings. First, the diagnosis is correct. The world is actively looking for alternatives to its over-reliance on the US dollar. Second, the proposed solution, the Chinese yuan, is not being chosen as the successor. And third, the verdict from the world's central bankers is crystal clear. They are placing their faith not in some new currency regime, but in the ancient neutrality of gold.
So, the dollar's dominance is clearly fraying at the edges, but the yuan is not its replacement. Instead, a much older, more neutral asset is reemerging as the bedrock of trust. The established financial order is being rewritten in real time, which